Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, but also how we're going to fix it together. And the content that I'm going to show you is Biden's big, brand new, bold, amazing Supreme Court reform that has as much of a chance of success as a lead balloon floating over the wall of China. And then I'm going to show you some other hypocrisy. This is going to be one you're going to need to send out. Everything will be linked in the description box below. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. And with that said, I'm going to dive right into it because Biden, just when you thought he was gone and dead and it was completely irrelevant and Kamala Harris was the second coming of Barack Obama, turns out he missed the limelight. So what he's going to do is he's going to put out a set of proposals that have 0% chance of passing because he doesn't like the Supreme Court. And so therefore the Democrats are going to get online and they're going to basically use it as election fodder, coming as support from the White House. All right, so as you can see here, and I'm going to walk through this whole thing, but I'm going to show you some other things that I found interesting. Joe Biden calls for Supreme Court term limits and scaled back presidential immunity. Isn't it interesting that he did not call for congressional term limits? Anyway, let's tune over to Chuck Schumer real quick. I want to listen to something he said, and then I'll go back to the actual details of what he's putting forward. Because Biden is pissed that the gun rights and the abortion rights and everything can go in his way. The left doesn't like the Supreme Court now. They loved them when they were putting out leftist opinions, but now that they're right opinions, they're illegitimate. But anyway, this really irritates me. But anyway, Chuck Schumer, ladies and gentlemen.
The Supreme Court is a morass. First, it's an ethical morass. The idea that wealthy individuals, many of them right-wing, can both have paid for cases before the court and at the same time give justices gifts or trips is outrageous. And frankly, Chief Justice Roberts isn't doing enough to curb it. But it's a morass in even a worse way. This is a MAGA right-wing court. It's already taken away the right to choose. It could very well go further on that. I fear it will. It's siding with the wealthiest of individuals and the powerful interests over the average working family. And it even threatens democracy when it says that a president can get immunity even for certain acts in the presidency. So this court is just a morass, both ethically and substantively. The Supreme Court is a morass.
It's a morass. You guys didn't catch that. It's a morass. So that's Chuck Schumer. That is the Senate Majority Leader. He is the head Democrat in the Senate, one of the most powerful Democrats in Washington, D.C., and he's saying democracy is threatened. Okay? Let's check in with someone else on the left. Elizabeth Warren claims Supreme Court is actively undermining our democracy. Literally from the party that brought you Kamala Harris as the nominee for the Democratic presidential candidate, who has received 0 votes whatsoever in any type of primary, any type of nomination process, anything. 0. Yeah. All right, so now let's get back to Biden's calls, because I got to show you about this. I'll show you this. Again, no congressional term limits suggested. It's only the SCOTUS. Almost like the SCOTUS is the one they can't control, so they have to try to impact it in something that's never going to happen. Let's dive into it. As you can see here, from the 29th, that is today, President Joe Biden unveiled Monday morning his 3-point plan to overhaul the Supreme Court. We're walking to all that in a second. But here we go. Let's dive down a little bit. Biden laid out his Supreme Court reform plan in an op-ed for the Washington Post, calling for a constitutional amendment limiting presidential immunity, 18-year term limits for justices, and a code of ethics to prevent corruption. Now, here's the dead giveaway. It took them positive gun rights. It took them decisions that are going to destroy the ATF, the bureaucratic state, like the Chevron case or the Looper Enterprises case, the Cargill, the Bruin. And now, all of a sudden, we want 18-year term limits. But not for Congress, because the corruption only exists in the SCOTUS. Because Congress, because it's controlled by Democrats and half of it, that's not bad. But because the SCOTUS is actually nominated and controlled by the right at this point in time because of the nomination process, which is outlined in our Constitution, now it's bad. And if you go back just a little bit in history, FDR tried to pack the court as well because the court also stymied him and the whole checks and balances thing. You know, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the New Deal guy. You know, it didn't work for him. Even Nancy Pelosi recently, as 2 years ago, said packing the courts is a DOA issue. The leaders of the Senate and the House right now are all going, that ain't happening. This is a pie-in-the-sky attempt to get more votes and do more left-wing social attraction for the base of the Democratic Party. Let's continue, because this has 0% chance. In his call for term limits, Biden said no president should have the opportunity to significantly shift the court's ideological makeup, another reference to Trump, who appointed 3 justices in his 4-year term. It is literally outlined in our Constitution that the executive branch appoints the judicial for lifetime appointments. It is mind-boggling. But don't worry, because Kamala Harris is down on it too. Quote, term limits would help ensure that the court's membership changes with some regularity. That would make timing for court nominations more predictable and less arbitrary, meaning we lost and we don't like it. It would reduce the chance of any single presidency radically altering the makeup of the court for generations to come, Biden wrote. The entire process is laid out in the Constitution. Here we go. And this is it right here. The underlying point. You need to know this. Left-wing dark money groups have campaigned extensively against the Supreme Court's conservative justices as part of a broader campaign to undermine the court and lay the foundation for court packing. Democratic politicians and mainstream media outlets have joined in the effort, most recently waging a partisan campaign against Justice Samuel Alito based on the flags flown outside his home and beach house. Again, I would like to bring forward the video I just showed you of Chuck Schumer. Democracy's at threat because of the SCOTUS. And then Elizabeth Warren. The Supreme Court is actively undermining our democracy. It has no basis in reality, but it's meant to gin up support in an election cycle. That's the entire point. It's not going to pass the Senate. It's not even going to introduce in the House. It has a 0% chance of passing. So why did he do it? Well, he did it because he wanted to help out his successor. Anyway, one more thing. Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, is also a proponent of overhauling the Supreme Court and expressed support for Biden's plans to address what she believed to a crisis of confidence for the court. So Harris is doing the exact same thing. She's all totally down for packing the court and changing the rules after they've lost. Shocking. I would never have seen that coming. But that's the whole point. Crisis of confidence for the court. They're trying to undermine the court because they don't control it. That's the entire perspective of what we're talking about. And even if Harris were to be elected, even if there's a President Harris and she wants to pack the court, she still can't do it because she needs Congress to do it. The votes have to be there, and they are simply not there. This is a literally DOA issue, but it's really good for campaigning. That's the entire point. And I'm going to get back to the big thing here, the big screen. Understand, as we go through the rest of this election cycle, you are going to be under an intense pressure cooker of propaganda. They have 3 months to do all the propaganda and all the marketing that they would normally do in 9. You're going to have it at 3x the amount of speed, 3x the amount of volume, and I will be here the whole way guiding you through this morass of propaganda as we try to push forward for our rights in an ever-changing, very loud, very annoying, Davy Hogg-filled world. And that's what I've got for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.